A strong, short-lived storm uprooted trees and caused significant damage in parts of Guelph. Environment Canada put out a special weather statement Tuesday afternoon, warning of the potential for damaging winds and hail as a storm blew through parts of southern Ontario. By 8 p.m. the statements had ended, but evidence of the storm was clear to see. The winds were gusting to 70 kilometers per hour, perhaps even 80 kilometers per hour, for much of the afternoon in the Guelph area, Rob Kuhn, severe weather meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, said. Then a line of thunderstorms associated with a strong cold front came through between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., and those storms brought even stronger winds with gusts likely between 90 kilometers per hour and 100 kilometers per hour. He said the storm did not last long, but it was powerful. The intense part of the storm was maybe 5 minutes. The storms themselves were racing east at about 80 kilometers per hour to 90 kilometers per hour. So when you did get hit, it was very sudden. And then once the storms formed into a line, the line was pushing southeast at about 40 kilometers per hour, Kuhn said. According to Northern Tornadoes Project, a team based out of Western University that investigates severe weather, they received many reports from across southern Ontario of scattered damaging winds, none related to tornadoes so far. At this point, we don't have any evidence or reports of tornadoes, Kuhn said. We've been asked that question for a couple cases already in eastern Ontario, but so far nothing yet has been determined that there was a tornado. When we were looking at warning these storms beforehand, the primary threat, by large, was straight-line damaging winds, downbursts from thunderstorms, and that's indeed what seems to have happened. In an email statement to local media, Terry Dooling, manager of public works for the city of Guelph, confirmed their teams received and responded to over 50 calls related to storm damage. At a U-Haul building on Speedvale Avenue, at least one of the iconic orange storage boxes had been blown onto its side. It looked like there was a container that was flipped over. Winds of that strength for 30 seconds to 1 minute. That's all you need to cause damage. It's almost like a wall of wind, Kuhn explained. Elsewhere, residents posted pictures on social media featuring large downed tree branches and toppled fences. Others posted videos showing debris blowing down the street as the winds whipped through the area. Electric utilities confirmed power outages were affecting several parts of the city. Crews were dispatched, but there was no estimated time of restoration available as of 8:30 p.m. The Guelph Police Service said they received dozens of calls during Tuesday evening's storm. Police said trees and hydro lines were reported down across the city, with many streets closed into Wednesday morning as the cleanup continued. In two of the more serious incidents, a Woodlawn Road West business had a large section of its roof torn off and deposited in the parking lot, while another business on Speedvale Avenue West reported a partial collapse of their building, police said in a media release. Fortunately, no injuries were reported in either incident. Weather advisories for severe thunderstorms issued earlier today in Ottawa have been called off. A severe thunderstorm warning was declared on Tuesday evening before a strong weather system moved through the region, bringing heavy rain, wind, and hail in some areas. The storm had passed Ottawa by about 7 p.m. Scattered power outages were being reported across the city, according to Hydro Ottawa. Most have been cleared, though some outages remain in rural areas. We are aware of multiple outages in the Ottawa area affecting 23,235 customers. Our crews are responding and diligently working to restore power to all affected, keeping safety top priority, Hydro Ottawa said. An outage near the Ottawa airport has been restored, according to Hydro Ottawa's outage map. The weather alerts stretched across eastern and central Ontario and into western Quebec. The weather forecast for Ottawa calls for showers or thunderstorms beginning in the afternoon and ending this evening with a low of -2°C. There is a 30% chance of showers overnight. Wednesday's forecast is sunny with a high of 11°C in the afternoon. A cloudy day is in the outlook for Friday. A number of large trees throughout Guelph came down, taking power lines with them, in the storm that brought just a few minutes of high winds and rain before the sun returned. Power outages were experienced throughout the city, including most of downtown and a number of intersections for several hours. Oliver Street in the ward saw a large tree come crashing down, ripping power lines and landing on a parked car. There were no injuries. Another came down on Guelph Street, forcing one family out of their home due to the power outage and electrical hazard while firefighters, police, and city staff responded. The city council meeting set to take place at 6 p.m. was postponed after the power went out due to difficulties with the generator. The rescheduled meeting will be posted at a later date. At the time of writing, it's not clear how many trees came down, how many people experienced power outages, and for how long. Around 7:30 p.m., Electra posted on social media that several areas in Guelph were affected by power outages, and that crews were working to restore power as quickly and safely as possible. Electra also reminded community members if you come across a down power line to stay at least 10 meters or 30 feet away and call police. Hundreds of Toronto Hydro customers continue to be without power early Wednesday morning after strong winds blew through the city on Tuesday. Less than 1,400 people are still without power, down from a peak of around 27,000, a spokesperson for Toronto Hydro said in an email Wednesday. We expect most of those remaining customers to be restored by around noon today and will continue with cleanup and restoration efforts until all customers are back online, spokesperson Kate Woomy-Brown said. She said estimated restoration times on the Toronto Hydro outage map are preliminary and may be updated once crews are able to assess further. These restoration times range from Wednesday morning to just after midnight on Friday in areas scattered throughout the city, the map shows. If residents come across down power lines, they are urged to stay back at least 10 meters, about the length of a school bus, and make a report to Toronto Hydro. On Tuesday, thousands of people faced power outages across Toronto. Before 7 p.m., the weather prompted Scotiabank Arena to ask fans to leave the tailgate party at Maple Leaf Square, ahead of Game 5 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Ottawa Senators. The tailgate was reopened minutes later, and fans returned to the square.
Holy crap.
Toronto police were called to a few incidents that might have been related to the weather on Tuesday. A large tree branch fell in the area of St. Clair Avenue West and Avenue Road, striking a woman and child. Police were called to the scene at about 3:20 p.m. The woman was critically injured, while the 10-year-old girl with her at the time was not hurt. Police could not confirm if weather was a factor and said they do not know why the branch fell. Later, shortly before 4 p.m., police were called to the area of Eglinton Avenue West and Oakwood Avenue for a report of pedestrians being struck by drywall. A man in his 40s, a woman in her 50s, and a woman in her 60s suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The women were taken to hospital, and the incident is being investigated as an industrial accident. Police also could not say if weather was a factor. Shortly after 6 p.m., police were told that construction materials were blowing off buildings due to strong winds at Dovercourt Road and Bloor Street W. Residents were urged to use caution when walking or driving in the area. The city had been under a severe thunderstorm warning, a severe thunderstorm watch, and a special weather statement earlier in the day, but all three weather alerts were lifted before 9 p.m.